Sabrosura pa' ti que.
Hello, everyone. This is Pam, de Café con Pam, the bilingual podcast that features Latine and people of the global majority who break barriers, change lives, and make the world a better place. Welcome to episode 380 of Café con Pam. Today, we have a conversation with Prisca Dorcas Mojica Rodriguez. Born into a large, close-knit family in Nicaragua, Prisca grew up surrounded and raised by a loving community of women, her abuelas, tías, and primas, who were and still are the beating heart and backbone of her extended family. The follow-up to her much acclaimed debut for brown girls with sharp edges and tender hearts, Tías and Primas paints the female archetypes that have shaped Prisca's both blood relatives and chosen family in all their beauty and contradictions. The tia loca who is shunned for the fine gender roles. The pretty prima put on a pedestal for her European features. The matriarch who is the core of her community but hides all her pain. And in doing so, Tías and Primas aims to expand the vernacular of what it means to be Latina and to heal the pain that is so often embodied in women family lines. Prisca has been featured on ABC News Live in outlets like New York Magazine, The Cut, Teen Vogue, and Cosmopolitan. All right, listeners, Prisca is, of course, she is back on the show. She was a guest on episode 223. And yes, we brought her back because her first book, as you heard it in the intro, and as you may have heard it during that episode, completely shook us. And of course, the moment she wrote a second one, I was like, absolutely. And of course, I was shaken up by the second book, and she did it again. And this time around, though, I want to give you a little context. At this point, I've met Prisca in person. We've had like conversations here and there. And so this conversation was a little bit more like chismeando. It was a little bit more like a true, we sat down and had coffee and caught up and talked about the book, but also we talked about so many other things. And I really hope you enjoy this format because especially for returning guests, we have, different things to explore in their story. And so I won't delay this episode any longer. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. I really could talk to Prisca for a long time, talking about all the various things, and I hope you enjoy it. Sin más, aquí está mi conversación con Prisca Dorcas Mojica Rodriguez.
Sabrosura pa' ti que.
Prisca, welcome back to Café con Pam. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm so good. It's been a few years since we talked on the podcast. I've seen you in between.
Yeah.
But you were episode 223 with your previous book, December 2021. Now we're back.
What episode are we on now?
You're episode 380.
Wow. That's so much.
We've evolved. We've grown.
Dang. Look at
Yeah.
you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So what happened between December 2021 and now in October 2024? You wrote a whole new book.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote a whole new book. It took me, I think I started thinking of it in 2022 because I had a few ideas. And it was a matter of like deciding which of the ideas felt most finished. But I had a few ideas, and then I finalized that I was going to focus on this summer of 2022. We sold it September or October of that year, and I gave myself more time this time to write this book.
For sure. So the first one, how long did it take, and how long did this one take?
The first one I wrote in 5 months.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and this one I gave myself. So I did have to write a lot in like 7 months, but because I fell, I had a huge
That's right. You had your
Yeah.
injury.
But because I gave myself so much time, I just took off like 3 months because I was on like narcotics and I couldn't even look at a laptop screen.
Dang.
So I gave myself the time to sort of heal and figure stuff out for a little while, which I'm grateful that I did because I know I could do a book quickly.
She can write, listeners. She can write.
Yeah, and I know it's a thing that people struggle with, but it's you either do or you don't, and I
Yes.
don't. And I can meet deadlines. I'm ahead of deadlines. And so even my publisher, when I felt, I was like, I think I just need like a few months off. And they're like, girl, you sent us 15 chapters already. You're fine. Take as much time as you want. You're more
Rest.
ahead, yeah, than most people right now. So do whatever. And so, yeah, I took off.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us about your injury.
Yeah, I fell going down the stairs and I broke my right foot. All the bones broke, so it was just hanging on by muscle and tendons.
And you were by yourself, no?
My husband was at home, but
Okay.
he was so our house is 3 stories. The
Okay.
basement is where the laundry is.
Uh-huh.
And so I was in the ground floor. I was in the basement and he was in the top third floor. So I had to scream a lot before he heard me because he
Oh
had his
my
headphones on too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It sucked. It sucked.
I bet.
Yeah.
How many all when you say all the bones, how many bones broke?
Uh so it's called a trimallar fracture, which means the 3 major bones that connect your feet. I don't know what all those bones are called, but it is the it's like the worst break you can have on your foot. Yeah,
And you
other than
got
like
it.
shattering it. Yeah. Yeah. I had to learn how to walk. I was in a wheelchair. It was a journey and I'm still like there's so many things that I'm still learning to do and figuring out how to do.
Dang.
Yeah.
My brother recently had an Achilles heel injury.
Oh.
And so, yeah. So
Yeah.
he tore the full Achilles and had to get it surgically
Yeah.
reattached.
Oh my
And
god.
I know.
I'm so sorry for him.
Yeah. He also had to relearn how to walk and same. And so when you say you were in bed in narcotics, it's very real. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
sometimes we may be like, oh, well, it's a foot injury. I can use my hands and my head. But
Uh-huh.
like that recovery requires your full body.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially on these hard drugs, which my body doesn't do hard drugs, but I had to be like, body, you have to, because
Yeah,
like this pain is not ibuprofen pain.
for
So
sure.
even coming off of it for a week after I came off of the strong narcotics, I like that when you start feeling again, it's awful.
Totally. So at this point, you've already sold the book. You decided.
Yeah.
When you say you had other ideas, are those going to come to the surface at some point?
Yeah. I have written proposals for all of them. It's a matter of selecting what's next.
Okay. And do you know? How do you know?
If you have agents, you should like be in constant communication and they'll guide a lot. They'll say like I think this one's the one, and you also know which one I can do. What do I have the bandwidth for? Cuz I want to do a cookbook. And a cookbook is going to take a lot of a different time.
And pictures.
Exactly. So it was like, what do I have the time for? Can I just sit and write? I think that's all I can do right now. So it
Yeah.
was also selecting I want to do a graphic novel and that's working with an artist to do the
Right.
graphics for it. So it's all of that like it's just which works, and it was about picking the solo projects that I had lined up first.
Well, and even this one, you talk about how when you envisioned Tías and Primas, was a very, like the illustrations had to be
Yeah.
a part of it.
You need to like have a commitment to work with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I had the publisher, once you say I want to do a book and I want it to have illustrations, you're either doing the illustrations yourself because they're doing a book deal with you,
Right.
or they're bringing in the Rolodex of illustrators that are in-house that are traditionally going to be white.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'll find the illustrator.
And that comes off your check?
Exactly. I paid her. My agent came up with a contract and met with all of like me and Josie, and then like agreed to something that felt fair. And then that's another thing. It was like I had then had to be like, okay, what are the deadlines? So we did like these, I don't know, every few months we were gonna 3 illustrations I was gonna see. And I had to be like, hey,
This is
it's
not it.
time to meet. No, not even. It was like, it's time to meet. Have you done them? Because I haven't heard from you. And she would be really apologetic and like be like, I just haven't done anything.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And then it was like, so I sold the book September, October of 2022. I was mostly done writing it, and it was August. It was due September. It was August, and I hadn't seen a single illustration
Oh
that
my
she felt
gosh.
with.
Que nervio.
Yeah, and it was all on me. Like I
Right.
advocated for this person. I wanted this person. I made a contract with this person. I picked this person. And so I was just like, what do you need? I will do whatever it takes. What do you need?
Right.
And she had just had a baby, and she's a single mom. She's an artist, and the childcare situation just hadn't been consistent. And it's also like that thing where you don't want to ask people for too much help. You don't want to,
Right.
you want to be self-sufficient. You want to prove to your parents that you've
Yes.
got, there was a lot of that also working. And so she was just like, if you came and take care of my daughter, that'd be amazing. But she said it like really flippantly. And I was like, what week works for you? And
Is she geographically where you are?
No, she's in Brownsville.
Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's a plane. Like you take a week.
Yeah. I took 10 days. I went to Brownsville. I cooked, I cleaned, I took care of her baby
No.
while she did the illustrations. Yeah. It was awesome.
But I love this story because I think it goes to show how, I mean, community is necessary.
Yeah. And if one of us gets a room at the table, I think we have to be willing to put our backs into, like, what does it mean to include other people? Like, we have to
Right.
really back that up. Or did we just get there and we're like, oh, I'm so happy to be here by myself? Like,
Right. Which a lot of people do.
yeah.
Well, and trust, I think like that we can totally peel it because it also talks a lot about you trusting and believing in the work of someone else while knowing that your own work is on the line.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't just easy for you to pick up and go, especially after you've been recovering. And, like it also required some sacrifices on your end to make that decision.
Yeah. I definitely, yeah, of course. But I also kept thinking, I don't have kids. I do have August. I was technically supposed to rest. Like I just finished this book and I wanted to rest, but I have this month that I gave myself as sort of a, yay, you finished the book.
Yes.
So I was just like, I can do it. Like this is like, I talk a lot about being child free and the opportunities that affords me. Like I have a guest room that I keep ready for friends who are in crisis. Like those are the things that I can do as someone who's chosen to be without children and to exist in this world. So it's just choices that I constantly make. How do I help this in my community? How do I utilize my free time, even though it's precious and we all want to hoard it? How does it come into service for the larger narrative and what we want for us?
Totally.
So,
And support each other, especially moms, especially mothers and single mothers.
yeah.
Because I don't know if you've heard that from, I don't know if I hear it often from my friends who are moms. They're always like so thankful for some reason because I understand
Yeah.
that, one of their kids just vomited all over the living room and we had a call and they're like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, go take care of your human.
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And they're always like so grateful. Like it's almost like they don't get the grace from child-free people as much as they might from other parents, I guess. Do you get that?
Yeah. Oh, it's not even other child-free people. It's almost like horizontal, like other moms who have older kids are like, I did it.
Right.
How come you can't do it? And it's very judgmental and it's like doesn't hold space for like No, it's
anything.
hard.
Yes.
It's okay that it's hard. It's okay that you're struggling. All that. There isn't space for that. There's just like your bootstrap mentality. You should just figure it out. Why did you
Right.
have him then? It's all that weird stuff. Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
Which child-free, there is a Tia. There's a child-free one. And I identified with so many. I was like, if I was to be one, I'm like, I have like 6 of them that I have
Yeah.
like sprinkles of.
Yeah.
So let's transition quickly into this book, Tías and Primas, on knowing and loving the woman who raised us. It was so hard for me because I quote, authors sometimes when they write like really good shit, and I'm like, let me just read this back to you, and I don't know how it feels to get
No,
like
it's fine.
your words read back. But there were so many that I'm like, I don't know which one to read. So how was it? So okay, let me backtrack. Tías and Primas, on knowing and loving the woman who raised us. So how hard was it for you to narrow it down? Because I feel like you could keep coming up with archetypes.
Yeah. I knew that so a traditional book is 80,000 words. There's writers who work on like I'm going to write 2,000 words a day or whatever. They give themselves deadlines.
Yeah.
The way I function is very like, okay, each chapter is this size. And I need to be really strict with myself. So understanding was 80,000 words. It was about, the first book was 10 chapters. So that meant that every chapter was 8,000.
Okay.
So it was like, can I do 4,000? Does 4,000 feel like I can grab the full attention of this archetype? And I mean, it felt it's almost mathematical at that point.
For
But
sure.
it is like, I cannot write 4,000 words of this archetype. There were 2 that didn't make it that I really wanted to write. But that was kind of it, though. I think my invitation to readers is like, are there missing ones? What would you write? Write them. Think about them.
For sure. Or
But
combine them.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like there's the young one, the young Tia,
Yeah.
and then there's a child-free one. There's so many that I'm like, I'm a little bit of all of them.
Same. Yeah.
There's, and so I love archetypes. It's so fun. And I love the illustrations at the end. So all the illustrations were done in one like
sitting.
10 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
No shit.
10 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was funny. I had written the child-free Tia when I got there, and then I rewrote it with new perspective after taking care of her kid.
I love that.
100%. Because it would be like, we would have like a schedule. 9 to 5, she would just draw, and she would have peace to just be an artist. But when 5 hit, I was exhausted.
Right.
And like, in an ideal world, I thought I was like, tap me in the whole time. But I was like, no, here, please.
How old was the baby?
9 months.
Oh, baby.
But like crawling, and like you have to keep your eye on her because she will grab, she will fall,
and they're so fast.
Yeah.
Like crawling baby. Sometimes I'm like, how did you get from here to there?
Yeah.
In like 30 seconds.
Yeah. And like she was just start crying if you left her alone. So it wasn't like she was just laying there.
Attention.
Yeah. And so then I didn't want Josie to get distracted to hear her crying baby. So it was just like doing stuff and moving and like, look at this, singing. And like, by 5, I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
Look at life. And you have to do this and be an artist?
Right?
No.
Totally.
It was maddening.
I bet. Have you read Invisible Women?
No.
So it's a highly researched book by Latina. She's from Argentina. On the unpaid labor. Mm-hmm. Well, it's on many things. How women have been invisible since the history of time.
Yeah.
And it's like really enraging. Like studies of like medicine, for example, how medicine is tested on men and postmenopausal women, which are both monocyclical, because if menstruating women would be tested, they would have to test this 4 times, which is too expensive. And so in order for them to say they've tested it on women, is postmenopausal women, which means that they can only cycle. They don't cycle anymore, so they only test them 1 time.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things. That's why it's called Invisible Women. one of the chapters talks about the unpaid labor on women, which is all of that you were
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah. The like exhaustion. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like being creative because you're using your brain, like how do I keep this kid entertained and alive and fed and like it's a lot
All
of
of
work.
it. And then yourself at some point in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which totally makes sense why so many mothers kind of like forget about
Oh
themselves,
yeah.
you know?
I feel like I understood how hard like intellectually I was like, it's really hard to be a mom, but like that those 10 days I was like, oh, y'all do not get enough
At all. I
at
know.
all about anything. And I I mean, I think it came out in a chapter the way I wrote about it. And some child-free women have gotten a little upset because they're like, what do you mean abundance of time? I don't have an abundance of time. That's like such a lie. But I was like, if you had been in my shoes that 10 days, you would realize how much time you actually do have.
Totally. And I will say it's actually on an episode. ¿Cómo se llama? Ay, I've had so many guests. I don't remember everyone's names. This is a problem. Alguien me dijo una vez that, which I was like, there's no way. And it actually led me to create a social experiment about this. So she said she actually didn't have children until she was in her late 30s, I believe. And during the conversation, she said, actually, if I was to change anything, I would have children earlier because mothers are 60% more productive than non-mothers. And I was like, bullshit. There's no way. And she was like, go for it.
Yeah.
So I asked that summer is when I started asking my sister to send me her kids. And so she sent me her kids a few summers, and then the kids grew up and they were like, I don't want to spend time with my tia. I want to like spend time with my friends. But for a few summers, she sent me the kid. She like shipped the kids basically they started coming to me at like, I believe he was 3 and she was 6. So like little.
Yeah.
And they stayed with me for a month. And I realized that when you have to take care of other humans, I became 60% more productive because the finite amount of time that I had to utilize it to like the maximum potential.
Yeah.
And so I created, and I don't know if you ended up doing this, but I woke up normally I'm up at like 5:30. And so I would wake up super early. I knew that the kids would be up by like 8 or 9. And so like basically my whole workday was done by 7. And then I would like shower, get ready. By like 8, I had breakfast already being made. Like I was making breakfast. So by the time the kids woke up, breakfast was done. And then we would go and do summer things,
Oh,
and I didn't have time to work again until after they went to bed.
yeah.
And so I had to be like super productive in like 3 hours
Yeah.
like before the sun even came out. So that rant to say, what do you think? Do you agree that mothers are 60% more productive than non-mothers?
100% because I did nothing else but take care of this kid, and I felt like like and because I knew I was there for a short amount of time and I cleared my schedule.
Right.
I know that you have to just do it. You have to just figure it out if that's your life. And
Mm-hmm.
so that I was very aware that like I was like, maybe you're not a strong soldier. Maybe you are the one woman who can't. Like the one, because it feels like that daunting. How much more and how much more alert, how much it's just like a whole life. It's not just my Tamagotchi that I play with sometimes. It was scary
Yeah.
actually. Like I had thought about adoption and then I was like, I don't know. I really, really like getting high on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Like,
And not
what?
have to worry about it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, thinking about me solely, I like it. Turns out that those were things I was thinking about when I was thinking about, like, am I gonna adopt maybe one day? No, you just don't think about that.
So that moment led to you making that decision that you don't want to adopt anymore?
Yeah, I had actually started an application for fostering, And I was like, I think I need to rethink this.
No way.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Wow. But
Yeah.
you're an eldest daughter, no?
Yeah.
And even that. So you had to like immerse yourself?
I have an eldest daughter who has moved away, far away, to not be that reliable person. And a lot of my duties have fallen on my sister. They've like just been like, esta no quiere, so we're gonna give it to this other one.
Who's next, like
So
right below you?
she's the youngest, but she's the other girl.
That's a thing. Have you heard of that? So it's either you're the eldest daughter, or if there's a son and the youngest is the daughter, then the youngest daughter becomes the eldest daughter.
Yeah, definitely. A lot is
Mhm.
on her still. I'm like,
I have friends like that. They're the youngest in their family and childless many times. Child free, and they it's like they're the youngest, eldest. And I always tell them, because they're like, I'm the youngest. Why am I and I'm like, because you're the daughter,
yeah, yeah.
you know?
Somebody's got to do it. And these guys aren't going to. Nobody expects the guys to. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Because they got families, and even if they don't, they won't get it done.
No, they won't.
So back to the book. We'll leave it in. There's just so many cool archetypes. I was going to ask you which one's your favorite, but that would be like asking, like asking me what's been my favorite episode. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so what made you the two that didn't make it to the book?
Yeah.
How did you decide that those were the two that weren't going to make it to the book?
So I'm a lot of these. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I was writing them, it felt very much either it was a lot of them or I very intimately saw them. And so like I felt like I could write it. I had the femme primo.
Oh, I was wondering. I was going to ask if you had, yes.
And I had a goth prima that I was gonna add, but it just felt they were too distant for me. And I think the femme primo, it just wasn't my story to tell.
Okay.
But the goth prima, the way that my particular household operated, I could never be goth. So
Mm.
I felt like there's a lot there that I won't even be able to see because I didn't intimately know that. I just saw them. I knew there were a lot of Latinas around me who identified as goth, but they weren't my friends, and they, you know what I mean? Like it's that it's felt too
Mm-hmm.
distant.
And you didn't want to like explore it from their lens.
I didn't know where to start other than like starting to interview people. And that felt too much in hindsight versus like a lot of these women, like I've sat
You grew
with
up with
the
them. Yeah.
feeling, yeah, the feeling they gave me when I saw them living in life. Like I've been analyzing all that. It felt like starting from scratch too late in the game about this
Right.
archetype. Yeah.
Well, and that invitation that you gave us to say, if there's one missing, you
Yeah.
write it,
Yeah.
which is what I love about your work, which is like, this is for me and for everyone. Like fill in the blanks, whatever the blanks come for you.
Yeah.
You did it again. I was crying. I think I was crying like with the matriarch, which is like the first one. And I'm like, really?
I mean,
I
same
just
though.
started this.
Yeah, yeah. I still can't read that chapter without like gulp.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
What's next? Are you going to take a break? Are you going to keep writing?
I wrote a novel. I'm on my third draft, so it's with my agents right now, and we're just seeing. They know the industry. I'm changing genres. I've been nonfiction for 2 books, yeah, and so it's YA. The way that it's being pitched is Judy Bloom, Are You There, God? But it's a 13-year-old immigrant Latina living in Miami. So it has like a lot of the coming of age stuff that is happening normally, and hormonal stuff and
Yes.
smells and all that stuff that's happening, but she's also navigating like being the eldest daughter and translating, and like they're seeing her parents fight, being their therapist. Like she's doing all that too, that I think is very much a different story.
Totally. And it's not one that's told unless
Yeah.
you've lived it.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I've seen it, even on shows.
Yeah.
Like that part of like existing in the reality while still having to live the American dream, or like doing it, it's that duality that it's not, I've not seen it,
Yeah.
but it's so close to us.
Yeah, and I think it would be the kind of book that I would have. I mean, I'm writing books that I wish I'd read younger. So it is the kind of book that I would have liked to have read. I read Babysitter's Club. Like, who? I didn't live in the suburbs with parents who let me go to strangers' houses so I can make money.
Right.
Like, that wasn't my childhood. So I want to make it into a series. So I have one done, but I want us to see her grow up.
Wow, I love that. How does it feel to move from nonfiction to fiction?
Scary. I think I've become really confident in nonfiction. Like, nobody can tell me nothing.
Right.
But now, like, my edits come back and I'm like, no, you didn't get it. It's a different experience for sure. I also never get, like, in my first two books, my editors seldom changed anything. So to have big changes and big suggestions is like, oh no, am I a terrible writer?
Well, and how do you, because I have a friend who wrote a book recently. She's in launch too. On In her case is a queer fat woman, which had not been written about. And so the edits came back and she had to fight like, no, I'm not going to take this out
Yeah,
just because you think the language or whatever. I don't know.
yeah,
That's for her to share that. But like in conversations, like she's told me how she's had to be like, that has to stay because that's part of the storyline and that's part of like the culture and that's part of like the people that will get it and the people that don't, that's not for them to understand.
yeah.
How are you navigating those things?
Well, it hasn't been bought yet, so it's still very much in conversation. The minute you do sign those contracts, I think I don't know what it'll be like because they do have a lot of say, and these publishers, you can finish the whole book and they'll pay you, and they'll never publish it.
No way.
Oh, that's totally, it's in your contracts. So that's a scary, how much do you fight when you know that they can always dangle that line in your contract that we are not entitled, and what happens is you get like a few years and then you get full rights to your manuscript and you can actually sell that again, but you get like a you go all the way through and then they'll never see the light of day if you didn't make the edits they wanted, if whatever reason. Yeah.
Could you self-publish or you still have to wait whatever time?
You still have to wait the time frame that is in your contract, but yeah, you could, but the the advertising publicity money in trade is like hard to compare.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part. And I've interviewed so many authors. Nobody said that before.
Oh yeah. But I've read my contract line by line.
Uh-huh. Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like, I don't know if they like, do they know that?
Yeah, it definitely, it's like I've been told my contracts are traditional, like nothing's really special about them. So yeah, and I've
Wow.
had a lawyer too who like pointed stuff out. Was like, "Did you read that?" I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't catch that." Really? Damn.
Did I already
So,
sign?
yeah,
Dang. That's wild.
yeah,
Maybe it's when people get to me, it's because the book gets published.
yeah.
So it's like,
They don't have to deal with that.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But they can't like either, they can't talk shit either. Like they can't be enraged like I wrote this, because they got paid for it.
Yeah.
That's wild. Does it happen often?
I mean, it's a loss for them. It'd have to be, I think, something super egregious.
Yeah.
But what is the line? You don't know where the line is. It's vague enough that it could be anything.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Now that you've transitioned to, or you're transitioning into fiction, are you talking to fiction authors? To other Latinas?
No. No, I didn't think I was gonna write fiction. The novel came out of me in like 3 months.
Because she writes, everyone. She writes.
Me and my agents have just sort of been shocked that I'm writing fiction now, and we've been just working through it and trying to
Wow.
see, can this be a thing? And we'll see. But no, I feel like I probably should. I don't know a lot of authors other than online, right? And so
Right.
it, you just like get very cautious because not everybody who's Latina is about it, you know? And so you have to be really
Mm.
smart. And for me, it's like meeting people in person, feeling body language, being like, oh, can I fuck with you? And that's only begun like going to book festivals, that I'm really being in community with people. But like, you got to see how people behave, what people do, what their actions are versus what they're saying. It takes a while to just be like, okay, tell me everything now, you know?
Right.
You build up to that.
I love that you brought that up. How do you navigate that? Because I've encountered it in the podcast space. Like even that, what you said, one thing is what you say and the other thing is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because online you can post whatever you want and like, oh yeah, we're besties.
Yeah.
But like behind closed doors, I'm personally very much about, if I know you and you're cool and you ask me for something, if I have access to it, 100%.
Yeah.
And I have realized that not everyone is like that.
Nope.
But they
Insane.
talk like they are.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you navigate that? Because it's like, somos tan poquitos, like you can't, I don't know. I always feel like, dang, only if
Oh
you were
yeah.
nice.
It's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking so much.
It's so heartbreaking. And then to be like, to not get hardened by it is a
Right.
thing. So
Totally.
it's just gaining new strategy. I feel like I've had to learn that on a go, like
Mm-hmm.
followings matter to people now. And so people will be really nice to you because they know you
Uh-huh.
have a blue check mark or whatever. And so discovering all that, navigating all that, I've definitely been in group chats and even public Instagram accounts where we've been like a group of friends, but there was a lot of infighting and a lot of talking
No.
shit. And so, you learn, you live, you learn, you stop sending nudes to your friends because you thought it was funny because they're not your friends. But
Yeah.
it's like all I feel like I've had to learn it live because it's also Latinas online. I feel like when I was online in 2013, there were even less of us. And so a
Right.
lot of us have almost come up together.
Totally.
And we know who the new ones are, I feel. And we're like, suddenly you're everywhere. Do you have a book coming out or something? Like we start smelling it now. And we just like,
And you want to be
stay
more friends with
aware.
me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're really loudly Latina. Interesting. Like you just have to pay attention. You have to. You
You
click
have
back
to.
into like your old, I don't know. It's like tools that I got as an immigrant kid translating. You just like rely on those skills again. You're just like, these are new spaces. They're not very welcoming sometimes. They say something to
Mm-hmm.
your face and it's going to be different behind your back. And
Mm-hmm. What about the clicks?
so many clicks.
So many clicks, right?
And you see them at events too.
Oh,
Like the
100%. I feel like I'm
clicks.
outside of the click, TBH. But it's really fascinating. Like, I've always been outside of clicks. Like, my whole life, I've never fit into clicks because I feel like my, like, little inner activist is like, I can't leave people outside. And so I just
Yeah.
purposefully, place myself outside of clicks and talk to many of the, like, click people, but I don't click inside.
Oh yeah.
But there's so many.
So many. And we saw each other at We All Grow.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the first time I saw it in that big of a
IRL.
scale. Yeah. Because there are clicks online. We know who's like fucking with who's
Right.
like in the group chats. But it was like
Yes.
seeing it in person, seeing all the younger girls coming up and just being like, oh no, I'm not cool anymore. And
Or was I ever? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And it is just constantly, for me, it's just constantly paying attention to how people act and how people treat other people, all that stuff.
Yes. And how many times you have to meet people? I've met people like 4 times. And I'm like, look, I'm not big. I'm by zero means not big at all. Like I have like 2 followers. People know, but like when we've personally been introduced 4 times, like
You can't keep forgetting.
no, like I
No.
can't just keep meeting you,
No.
you know.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
And so like you probably get it less because your quote like your following is bigger.
No. People don't know who I am. That's
They keep meeting you still.
100%. And they'll be like, "Why are you here?" 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if this has happened to you, but it happened to me in one conference that I went to. It was which I think this is why I kind of like hated social media since the beginning, because I had just started Café con Pam. I probably had 300 followers. I mean, it was literally like I started Café con Pam 2016. I went to this conference 2017, and and it was like early, 2017 is like, oh, influencers, like all of a sudden, like whatever.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I was invited to this event. I don't know why. And as I'm meeting people, they're like, oh, let's follow each other. And they would see, like, you could see the shift in their demeanor when they were like, oh, I thought, okay, well, and I had many instances of people literally like look at my account and walk away.
Oh no.
Like left me talking to myself.
No. It's terrible, but it's
so
so
bad.
true.
I'm not lying.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah.
What dia is that?
The one
I don't know.
definitely is the one that doesn't like other women, I'm gonna say.
I would say that, yes. Yes, that Tia doesn't like other women.
I hear that. I mean, like, Latina Rebels has always been bigger than my personal accounts. Like, I've been online since 2013, and I only have 33,000 followers in my personal account, right? Like, my personal, right? But, like, because it's been very organic growth. It's people who really are about it. I'm very polarizing. I know that. So, yeah, it is, like, I mean, up until my book published, I was at 15K maybe. My first book. So yeah, for years I was just getting into spaces where people were like, "Y quien la invitó?"
And how do you navigate that? Do you continue to show up, or are you like, you know what, I'm just not going to come back?
I definitely don't come back to spaces that feel like they invite that energy too. So I am very particular about like, oh, that was fun, but I'm never doing that again. and I like that. I also don't go to a lot of things. So that's my,
Because you also
that's a
live in the
coping.
middle of the country.
Exactly. And I think it's a gift because I don't have to deal with the additional drama that comes with people who are seeing each other regularly at events.
I know. Which I'm in San Diego. I get a little bit of an excuse. I mean, less than you, but I'm 2 hours away. So
Yeah.
I don't have to drive, which I also don't get invited because I've purposefully have stayed outside of the cliques.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. I don't know.
I think it's a blessing.
I've had to build my own stage though.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
We're almost 400 stories later and we're still here because I don't get those invitations.
Yeah.
But it's like that resilient immigrant kid that's like, well, we just have to create the space.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah. It's hard. It's lonely.
It is very lonely.
Yeah.
And then you meet the people that are like about you and they were like, oh, you're actually not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how did we get here? I don't know. We had a pending conversation, which
So
I don't know if we'll
many.
have time. I know. I don't know if we'll have time to talk about it here. But in one of the few times that we've seen each other, I was like, we need to talk about having a white partner.
Uh-huh.
Because I get questioned about it all the time.
I push back, but I get questions about it for sure.
So mine is a mystery on purpose. Like, I don't post his face. I only, like, people just hear his voice. Even when I post content about him, it's only his voice. It's never, like, his face. Because I want that I want my relationship to stay sacred.
Yeah. Mine too. He's not online.
I know. But that also could open the door to like judgment and criticism and like, oh, you don't show him because he's white.
Oh no. I think it's just healthier. I think relationships that are public become about being public more than anything. And then it becomes a
Totally.
show. And I know as a pastor's kid,
Ooh, yes.
what you do when eyes are on a family, when eyes are on a couple, like you're not there. So I love it. I like specifically date people who aren't online before I ended up with my partner.
Really?
Yeah, I hate when people are online.
On
I'm online enough for any partnership. I don't need someone else. No. Yeah. Yeah.
So how has it been for you to be so public in a way and have someone who's not?
It's so healthy. Cause it does, like, the drama, like, stuff happens and people start calling each other out. There's beef
And they're
online.
clueless.
And I could just put my phone down and talk to somebody who has no context for any of it, isn't gonna bring it up, isn't going to, unless I tell him anything. He's just like, did our dog eat dinner? You know?
Right. Yeah.
And that feels really good. It feels like I get to have a balance of like, because your phones will lie to you and your phones
Mhm.
will create this other world that actually is just on your phone, and it is a significant world, and it can have an impact on your career and your life, and also it's on your phone.
Yeah.
So it grounds me a lot, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
100%. And it to me it also humbles me,
Yeah.
you know, because like being public in some way and meeting people that are like, oh my god, like for me, I've met people that are like, I've listened to all your episodes, and I'm like, that's amazing. But then I get home and David's like, you didn't fold your clothes. Like, when are you gonna like put your shit away?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And like he doesn't, which I love that he doesn't get impressed. You know, it's like, well, it's part of your work.
Yeah.
Like, let's just eat dinner.
Yeah.
Is it similar to you?
Sort of, yeah. But I'm very much, you should be impressed. And he doesn't, I don't even give him access to see it too. Like, because he's not online, he doesn't understand the bigness of it. And so I will have to be like, do you understand how hard it is to get a book deal?
Right.
Like, how much money I got paid to write a book?
Yes.
Like, I think that does also, it's good to have those conversations as somebody who's like, my parents have no context for. They think I like self-publish, or in our church a lot of the pastors write books and they self-publish
Right.
and print like 50 copies, and they're like, I'm an author. And
Yes.
so I think that that's what they think happened to me. So I'm in the position of explaining what I do a lot, and and still my parents and family are not impressed, but I do expect my partner to be like, that's a huge deal.
Yes.
I love that for you. Let me buy you something wonderful to celebrate you.
Totally.
So it's a little of both. I also do like the groundingness of it, because it does sort of, I feel like sometimes my feet don't touch the ground, because the energy that I'm getting from people almost makes me feel anxious. Like, I feel like, do I even know myself? Can I make mistakes? Am I allowed to? And I'll come home and yeah, there's a lot of mistakes done all the time. It turns out.
Yes.
So I like the groundiness of it for sure.
Agreed. And culturally, how do you navigate the differences?
There's so many, and then in our day to day, there's sometimes where I just don't feel it anymore.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. No, I understand.
It's totally there. It's totally something that I see, especially around his family or when my family's around. But in our day to day, it's just, he's like my friend.
I love that you wrote that. Like, he's your best friend, guy friend.
Yeah,
He is my
yeah.
best guy friend. Yes.
I tell him everything. He knows all my friends' drama. He knows all, like,
Mhm.
he is like who I think me mommy was for a really long time for me. He's like, I
Mm.
touch base with him. I tell him things. We process things together. I'm just, I don't know. We don't think about, he also will be like, I forget you have tattoos. Like, we stop seeing our bodies even sometimes. We're just like connecting. It sounds so woo woo, but we're like connecting as souls, and we're like, we've created a rhythm that works for us. And now there are differences, but the life that we've built, we both would kill for to maintain.
Totally. How long have you been together?
7 years married.
Okay. And together?
A decade.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've been with David for 8 and almost 9. And it is, I agree. Because I have been questioned by fellow Latinas who are like it's the culture thing. Like I couldn't be with someone who doesn't understand that I'm an eldest daughter and the expectation of me taking care of everything is like at such scale
Yeah.
that only when you're in it you don't get it. And he doesn't. Like
Yeah.
I've had to explain it to him,
Yeah.
but now like it's one of those things that you explain it and then he's like, "Oh, I see it."
Yeah.
And even like little things. What happened the other day? Because I live in a multi-generational household with him because I'm the eldest daughter and my mom lives with us and my brother moved in with us. So, and he now knows that dynamic. And he's like, "You're Latina, you come with a package." And that's how it works,
Yeah.
And like when he talks to his friends, he's like, "Yeah, I'm with the brown woman and they come with a package and that's how it works." And then he was telling me that he was talking to one of his like coworkers and he's like, "Oh, you have one of those that come with a package?"
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not something that I've felt that's disconnected us,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
as some people may see it and judge it.
Yeah. I also like have this, I get really upset at the ways that we Latina specifically, how we're spoken to and about when people find out our partners are white. I get really upset. I feel
Yes.
like, wait, you just gave him all the power
Yes.
to discredit me, to devalue what I do, to devalue my connection and love for my, like, you did that, I didn't. So who here is centering whiteness is the real question. So like I there's like a lot of bad faith questions that happen when that comes up, that my heckles go up and I'm just like, I know what you're trying to say, I'm gonna catch it.
Do you point it out?
Yeah, all the time. Heck yeah. Yeah.
What do they say?
I think people get surprised that I have like a response other than an apology. I think people want an apology. Where I'm just like, no.
Totally.
No. And I don't operate like white men are better. Like those aren't the narratives that I have. I've dated plenty of Latinos. I've dated plenty of men of color. That's just not who I ended up with.
I mean, you can't control who you're gonna fall in love with.
I mean, in some ways I feel like I did. Like I had the second time around for sure. I was like, this is what I want, somebody who's in therapy.
But you were clear about the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just didn't have like it just happened to be a white man.
Yeah. But it also like I remember I had gotten an irregular pap smear and I had precancerous cells in my uterus and we were dating, and his instinct was, let's get married so you can be my insurance so you can get surgery. It was like, okay, let's go.
Oh my
like
gosh.
that, like the willingness to love me that much, also like the ability to be so financially stable in like your early 30s, like that feels really racialized, and we have to call that what it is. Like there's, I don't know, there's decisions that I also made, like to stay alive. And I knew it came with a white guy. Did you want me to die? Because I like, you want,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like, what were my
Yes.
options there? So, yeah.
Well, and also, like, speaking for myself, like, I didn't have the resources.
Yeah.
Which I've learned from him. Like, for me, and I don't know if that's happened because of all, like, my lived experience, there's also things that I've learned from him and his lived experience that I'm like, oh, there is a difference.
Oh, yeah. Huge. Huge. And like I notice it, it's a specifically around class is where it feels really, really, really prevalent. Like the things he leaves over. If he doesn't want to drink at a bar, he stops drinking it. And I'm like, like, I'm not
Right.
wasting a dime. Yeah. Or like the way we like chicken wings. I judge him all the time. I'm like, you don't know starvation. Like, look at that chicken wing.
Right.
You left more
I
on the
always
wing.
do the same thing. I'm like, because I don't eat chicken, but I'm like, if I ate chicken, that bone would be done. Like,
Right? The bone marrow be sucked out because I'm getting all the nutrients. Are you kidding me?
we had a conversation about that because he's like, who told you that bone marrow, like chicken bone marrow, is good for you? And I'm like, nobody told me. We just eat it because there's nothing else. It's probably not good for you, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
It's real.
Yeah.
And I would argue that when you're with a Latino or someone, you know, culturally the same, there's all those like little nuances that you can't learn because you're the same,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes. So many. Yeah. Like even now, there's so many things I'm learning as I'm actually making real money, right? For the first time in my life, I like make real money where I have play money. You know, like
Yes.
I can spend money to
Yes.
have someone be like, "Oh no, this isn't like celebration all the time."
Right.
We have to plan for the future.
We have to
With
save
the future.
money.
Like I don't have parents with 401ks with retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't understand planning for the future like that. So that is like, oh wow, I'm so happy you're around.
Totally.
Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I mean, because my mom retired, and I often tell people I'm the retirement plan.
Yeah.
Like, yes, she retired.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are the 401k. Totally. I mean, there's so many things. He's like terrible at leftovers.
My partner hates leftovers too.
It's a white people thing.
It's a white people with money.
With money.
thing.
I tell him all the time, you never starved. And so that's why you put shit in the fridge and you don't get it out because you don't need to.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat the leftovers because I brought them home for a reason, because that's lunch for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
little things.
it's those little
for
things.
sure that are huge in the ways that we learn to survive the world. But
For sure.
But then you join lives and then
your life becomes better and you make their lives better.
Yeah.
In so many ways. So I think it's really powerful. So for all the haters, stop hating.
I think there's this controversial theory that a lot of my friends and I have, because a lot of women in academia that I became really close to are Latinas, very racialized Latinas, and racialized as not white, right? And all of them have white partners. And so we are constantly trying to find the answer too. And an answer that one of them offered once that I think I'm trying it on for size is men of color, for systemic reasons, can become intimidated by women who are outspoken,
100%.
who potentially are successful, who might boss them around, all that stuff. My white partner is steeped in so much privilege that he's not threatened by my outspokenness. He's not threatened by my success. He's fine. But it's privilege. It's systemic. It's big, but I can just be, I don't have to mute myself for this person who's experiencing all this stuff every day in the outside world, who then expects me to get quiet.
Yes, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And I also think because men of color's proximity to whiteness is like second, so it's like white men and then men of color.
Yeah.
When women of color are outspoken, it's like you're fighting for that place and they can't allow that.
Yeah. And if you're, God forbid, really smart, really outspoken and know your shit, like that feels really threatening to
Big
people
time.
who are fighting for this place. So yeah, white men aren't fighting for anything.
No.
And it's fucked up. Like everybody should have that level of ease in the world, but I don't even have it. Like I will fight a bitch. Like I still have these instincts to protect something that comes from being in these systems and trying to prove yourself all the time. So I get it, but.
And it's also, frankly, sometimes we walk into restaurants and I'm like, he looks at me like, No, she is going to answer the question. And I'm like, see, thank you very much.
I love it.
And people get like, oh. And I'm like, yeah, what made you assume? Or like when they check, they give it to him. And I'm like, what made you assume? Like, I'm going to pay for this shit
Yeah.
because I can.
Yeah.
So many layers.
So many layers. Alice Walker was married to a white guy when she was getting up to write Color Purple, and she calls
Mm.
him in her diaries. She calls him her benefactor, and I feel that heavy. I got a donor in here.
Yes.
I got someone sustaining me. You want me to get rid of that? What? No.
Right?
No.
Like, we need to take offense to that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's the pillar that holds the foundation
Yeah.
while I continue to keep surviving. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's deep.
Yeah.
Very deep.
Yeah.
Prisca, tell us all the places. Tell us where you can find this beautiful book that I didn't talk much about because I think people need to read it. I had my notes and my Post-its and my highlights and all the things.
Look, we were overdue for a chat.
We were overdue for a chat. And I do think there's like, I didn't want to give it away.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And there's too much. How do you cover so many topics? There's 20 topics.
I know.
Yeah.
And like so many. But it's like, she did again. I was crying. Chapter number 1. I'm like, really? I was at the beach, sand getting stuck in my face.
I can't.
I'll send you the picture. I'll show you the picture because I have evidence that this actually happened. It was very real. But tell us all the places. While you're telling us, I'll find a picture. All the places and spaces where we can find you.
You can buy it anywhere books are sold. You can buy the audiobook. I did the audiobook. Yeah, buy from your local indie shop, obviously. I don't know if I need to say that, but
yes,
anywhere,
bookshop,
everywhere.
So here's the pictures you can see where I'm like, I mean, I'm posting on this one, but I'm at the beach.
I love it. Not the crying.
Like, sand getting stuck in my face and like getting in my eyes, and I'm like, the matriarch, this is not. But yes, listeners, definitely find it. And where we can find you? How do people connect with you?
Everywhere online, I'm Prisca Dorcas, so my first name and my middle name, and my website is priscadorcas.com too. So,
and get all the books.
Yeah,
this one and the upcoming ones, because it would be a series. No, what if you wrote like a whole series on all of the primas and tías?
Oh my god, that'd be too hard.
Imagine.
Oh,
they all have their own story.
I mean, they're characters in my novel. There's a world where I knew I was going to write a novel, and Alice Walker taught me to write a novel by doing this character development. And so this book was good. Developing those characters. So they're in the book.
Oh, and they make like, ¿cómo se dice? Cameos?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Can't wait. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming back to Café con Pam. I feel like this was more of a chisme conversation, but get the book. Tías and Primas.
Thank you.
Get it from, we'll have it linked to a bookshop so people can choose their local bookstore. And you're no longer in pre-order, huh?
No, it's out.
So get it, order it for your friends. Books make great holiday gifts. Holidays are coming up, so that's a good one to order and then discuss. Prisca, thank you so much for coming to Café con Pam.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Sabrosura pa' ti que que.
Bueno, listeners, that was my episode with Prisca. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you have any questions that may have come up that you want to ask me, remember we have a listener questions space for you to drop in your questions. Last week's episode, I answered a listener question. We are accumulating your questions so I could do one full episode, but I know when you send me DMs, when you tell me all the things, if you want me to answer them on an episode, we have a form, cafeconpam.com/contact. And that's where you will see the form you can fill out, completely anonymous. You can also send me a DM, listener questions, and I'll send you the link. Because I know, especially interviews like this one, it might bring a lot of things up. I don't know, but let me know. Of course, as usual, screenshot and tag. That's a great way to support the show. Drop a like, drop stars, drop reviews, ratings. Those are very helpful and useful for other people because the more you like, comment, share, the more the algorithm picks up our show and shares it with the world. So if something from this episode resonated, let us know. Y bueno, listeners, if this is your first time here, welcome to Café con Pam. I hope you feel at home. I hope you return. If you want to return without having to remember, the easiest way is also to follow and or subscribe, depending on where you are tuning in from. That's also an easy way to support us. This is a labor of love. We are currently, as you may have heard, we have been actually, this is not new. We have been monetizing through sponsorships and through our live events. That's how we are bringing the brand of Café con Pam. And that's how I'm merging actually my body of work with Café con Pam, which kind of started in different ways in separate kind of silos. And now it's coming back together. And so let me know what you think about this. And I hope you enjoy the interview. I want to take a second to address last week's episode. So many of you messaged me about the moment when I shared that David sat down and tapped with me when I was triggered. So many of you were touched by that. And that's amazing. That was the biggest takeaway, which is awesome. And I think what that brings up for me is a reminder that your partner doesn't have to be everything, but it is important for your partner to be supportive of you and to adapt and adopt things that may help you and to embrace the tools that may help you when need them and be there for you. And so thank you for all of you who listened to that episode and that moment resonated and made my heart sing so much. And I'll tell him and I'll tell you what he thinks about it. But I want to listeners, thank you so much for being here. Follow us at Café con Pan Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. If you're on YouTube, of course, subscribe, hit the star or hit the bell, share with a friend, with your tia, with your prima, with whoever will resonate with this. Super helpful. That keeps us afloat. And como siempre, pues, stay shining.
Sabrosura pa' ti que